Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Akeode. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on the time zone in your location and wherever you are joining us from around the globe.
That's it. I think you're welcome.
I want to express my profound appreciation to everyone here today as we witness this historic event, our conference, which brings together philosophers for the first time to explore topics specifically focused on African women's issues philosophy. Thank you all for being here. This conference is for me a dream come true. I have long envisioned a time when African women are recognized as significant, uh, um, significant thinkers and philosophers who have made substantial contributions to the evolution of African societies and the richness of their unique cultures. These women, through their thoughts and philosophical perspectives, have helped shape the conversations that have allowed Africans to build resilient and welcoming communities over the years. I dreamed of African women's African women philosophers coming together to network, collaborate, and critically evaluate their own philosophical ideas and to mentor, empower, and support one another. This conference for me marks the beginning of realizing these dreams, not only for African women philosophers, but for African women as a whole. Today, we draw inspiration from our ancestresses and matriarchs, women from diverse backgrounds. Among them are professional philosophers like Sophie Oluwole of Nigeria and Aminata Diop of Senegal, and so many others that we cannot mention. Political thinkers such as Andre Blawin of the Congo, Funmilayo Ransome Kuti of Nigeria, and military and political leaders like Anna Nzinga of Angola, Beatrice of Congo, Amina of Hausa land, Santiwo of Ghana, environmental thinkers like Wangari Maathai of Kenya, and so many others. These women have made significant contributions that remain relevant to addressing the main challenges our continent faces today. They have made enormous sacrifices and continue to do so daily in order to secure their place in the philosophical landscape. In 2010, as a doctoral student, I had the opportunity to go to Senegal as a laureate of the Gender Institute of the Council for the Development of Social Science Research in Africa, CODESTRA. There, I met Professor Aminata Diop, who shared her experience with me. She explained that because of the demands of her work as a philosopher, an African woman philosopher, she had to inform her family and friends that she could not attend their functions or events. Many family celebrations, especially weddings, are held on Saturdays, which she dedicated to reading and reflection. This exemplifies how African women often sacrifice personal joys to make meaningful contributions to philosophy. Today and tomorrow, we gather to analyze, examine, interrogate, and critique the past and present contributions of African women to philosophy, culture, and society. Together, we aim to forge paths to a desirable future for Africans, both on the continent and in the diaspora. In this on behalf of every member of the League of African Women Philosophers, I welcome you all to this conference. Although our appreciation is coming later tomorrow, but I would like to use this medium and this time to appreciate our keynote speakers and our plenary lecturer and every presenter and every attendee as well. And especially the organizing committee members and the chair that's planned this event. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. We are deeply grateful for your attendance and your participation. I would like to flag up the discussions today by reflecting on the implied question, can African women philosophize? To many of us, this question seems absurd or ludicrous, and to some, it is irritating or provocative, to say the least. But as I will show later, this is a question that some renowned scholars in philosophy have provided answers to, even if it has not been directly posed. This is because this question can be broken into two other questions that have been asked in the history of Western philosophy, and to which answers have not just been offered, but such answers have been documented. The first part of the question is, can Africans philosophize? An answer to this question likely depends on whom you ask. For instance, some renowned philosophers have articulated a low view of Africans, positioned against the backdrop of the Enlightenment, an era during which European thinkers believed they had achieved enlightenment. Many of these scholars openly expressed their disdain for Africans. As claimed by many such thinkers, the Enlightenment signified a period in human history when reason, among other things, the equality of all humans. And this position, together with some other self-evident propositions, formed the cornerstone or foundation upon which many renowned thinkers of the 16th to the 19th century erected the edifices of their philosophical ideas. Nevertheless, philosophers such as Immanuel Kant, John Locke, G.W.F. Hegel, Max Muller, Edward Tylor, James Frazer, and Herbert Spencer, among others, would resolutely answer the question, can Africans philosophize, in the negative? For them, Africans were considered as primitive and thus incapable of philosophical thoughts. According to Herbert Spencer, for example, in his essays that were published in the popular Westminster Review, which only ceased publication in 1914, the British anthropologist cum philosopher offered compelling but fallacious arguments on how the principle of evolution underpins the development of the planet and its life forms, as well as the development of societal, political, economic, literary, linguistic, scientific, and artistic systems. Spencer's essays were published around 1857. In his words, and I'm quoting him directly here, this same evolution of the simple into the complex through a process of continuous differentiation holds throughout, from the earliest traceable cosmical changes down to the latest results of civilization. We shall find that the transformation of the homogeneous into the heterogeneous is that in which progress essentially consists. While Spencer's analysis of evolution, I've finished quoting him here, while Spencer's analysis of evolution might have seemed harmless, he applied this principle to the development of human races. He argued that although all humans originated from a single homogeneous stock, their dispersal across different regions of the globe led to the development of specific qualities that introduced variations, resulting in distinctions between civilization and savagery. Consequently, Spencer claimed that some people lack the sophistication or cognitive abilities necessary for critical thinking and civilization. He specifically categorized Africans as individuals who could not develop the complex cognitive skills required for civilization. Similarly, Kant and Hegel, who had detractive views about Africans, argued in their writings that Africans could not philosophize due to being primitive and generally inferior. In summary, notable Western philosophers have historically portrayed Africans as fundamentally lacking the ability to philosophize. On the other side of this spectrum, the question of whether women can philosophize has often been addressed by prominent philosophers throughout history. For example, Aristotle argued that women's primary duty is to take care of the home and children. Other notable philosophers, including Friedrich Nietzsche, Immanuel Kant, and Thomas Aquinas, have posited that women are naturally subordinate to men. Some of these thinkers maintain that women's perceived inferiority stems not only from their lower physical strength, but also from a supposed lack of intellectual capability. Edgar Vadin, in our work, Sex, Love, and Gender, a Kantian Theory, criticizes Kant for linking men with the sublime and women with the beautiful, thus categorizing them into different cognitive and moral classes. Similarly, Susan Molan Okin, in her book Women in Western Political Thought, critiques Aristotle's assertion that in politics, that men are naturally suited for leadership while women are destined for subordinate roles. Hawking also argues that the belief that women's greater emotionality and lesser rationality renders them less capable of reasoning and philosophizing, according to Aristotle and some other thinkers who hold this belief. Taken together, therefore, the central question of this discussion is, can African women philosophize? The question either seems fundamentally irrelevant or the answer to it is self-evident or has been provided. Therefore, while the question has not been directly raised, a response has been provided or responses have been provided in both Western and African philosophies. A response that implies or makes it appear to be axiomatic that African women and philosophy are not compatible. Little wonder there are only a few African women in departments of philosophy across the continent. And it is also therefore not surprising that many topics in our African philosophical curricula conspicuously neglect feminine and women's issues. As I have previously noted, African philosophers have yet to view women's issues as philosophically relevant or significant. For example, subjects like premarital virginity, polygyny, low participation of women in politics, prostitution or sex work, rape, female genital mutilation, widow inheritance, women and poverty, motherhood, domestic violence against women, women and illogicality, the moralization of women's sexuality, and so on, have been mostly regarded by scholars of African philosophy.
They say le détergent, vous croyez que c'était la...
C'est beau ça. C'est quand
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. I get him.
The deafening silence in philosophy regarding women's or feminine issues performs the dual role of reinforcing societal and cultural biases against women, as well as encouraging women's marginalization in philosophy. I have seen many brilliant young women who switched to other disciplines because of the male-centeredness of philosophy in Africa. This is why one of our primary goals at the League of African Women Philosophers is to encourage African girls and women to view philosophy as their academic home or sanctuary, challenging the dominant narratives within both Western and African philosophies, where it is implied or even brazenly stated that African women and philosophy cannot appear in the same semantically or logically sound sentence, is the reason for this conference. History is being made here today and tomorrow. Our voices resonate throughout the universe, sounding loud and clear that African women can and indeed do engage in philosophical discourses. African women have been philosophizing for ages as free women, as enslaved women, as independent women, as colonized women, as women dominated by patriarchy, as emancipated women, and as autonomous women. In different positionalities and positions, they will continue to philosophize. We will continue to philosophize as long as humans exist, whether on this planet or even on a terraformed planet. Today, I urge you all to let our voices reach generations yet unborn, so that no longer will African women feel as outcasts or Outliers in Philosophy. We use this conference to lay the foundation of our intellectual home in philosophy and to highlight African women's past, present, and future contributions to philosophy. Thank you very much and happy deliberations.